Hello, everyone. This is the Crimson Cure, welcoming you to the Crimson Tower, a place where we keep a feminine foot on the neck of the gynocracy, feminism, and black male misandry. So go ahead, pull up a chair, stay a while, and listen.
For over 2 decades, we focused on one philosophy, the 10 life values. A system that helps us examine our lives, our vision, our leadership. Our products and our services are exclusively for men, all men. The ones who teach and mentor our kids, maintain our livestock and grow our food, make and repair our products, saves us from catastrophe, and protect our nation. The 10 life values are woven into every product and service we create. Because at the end of the day, our vision is to see all men from every community equipped with the appropriate processes and the necessary tools to be excellent fathers and the best version of themselves they can be.
Hello, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I am your host, femininity coach, and author, The Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. So what are we talking about today? It's men's fault that Black women are broken, right? Because that's what we hear. It's the men who break the women. The women don't come broken, and there's usually not any other catalyst for breaking women. It's really usually the relationships that they have with men that go badly, that ruin the women. And, you know, if they end up broken, then it's the men's fault, right? Right. Except when we're little girls, we get taught certain things about men, and we get taught these things verbally and by example. So the first thing that we're taught in the Gynocracy 101 is that all men are either enemies or utilities. This includes dads, brothers, uncles, cousins, family members. It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter who the man is. A man is either our enemy or he is a utility. He is something to be used, okay, for our own gain, whatever that is. All right. If you listen to a lot of young girls in reference to Father's Day, they always talk about what their dads gave to them, what they bought for them, what they did for them, utility. Rarely talk about how much they love their father for the sake of loving their fathers, right? And this goes for all of the other boys and men that are their family members. They are taught this by their mother and the actions of the women in their family, because the grown women in their family treat the men like utilities or enemies. They're either arguing with them, fighting with them, or begging them to get them something or do something for them. So they're either enemies. They're enemies when you're fighting and when you're arguing and when you're going back and forth. And then they're utilities when you need bills paid and when you need money and when you need clothes, shoes, etc. All right. So that's the first thing that young girls are taught, and they're taught this about their counterpart, the boys, the men. The next thing is that they are taught not to value men beyond that point. If he can't be a utility, he doesn't have any value. Doesn't matter who he is. Okay. Not being taught not to need men, that they don't have any value outside of utilities, and that if that's not the case, you do not need men and should not entertain men, actually is one of the first things that damages her vessel. All right? Because she's taught not to identify with Black men or boys as part of her. She's a separate entity. They're a separate entity. This is taught in youth. This is well before she's getting grown and getting into dating in any type of serious capacity. She doesn't even know this. This is the fundamental teaching of the gynocracy to a girl about the status and the value or lack thereof of Black men across the board. So by viewing them as either enemies or utilities, she's automatically not viewing herself as part of that or part of them. So they might be family or whatever, and she knows that, but there's still something separate about the boys and the men and her. That teaching separates her. It makes them lower. It actually dehumanizes boys and men and humanizes her because she's not a utility. She's a whole human being. All right. And no one should look to her to be a utility. You should only look to her to be an entire, complete human being with a full spectrum of feelings and thoughts and emotions and all of these sorts of things. Right. So the effect of this isn't going to be seen until later in life. Of course, you know, I got my notes. So when she's taught that the men and the boys are not a part of her, she's simultaneously taught that the women are. So that the women and the girls in her family, her mother primarily, they are all people. We are all people. We are all together. We are a separate tribe from the men. The men are suspicious. They're enemies. They are not to be trusted. They are not to be regarded unless they are performing some duty towards you. Anytime a man or a boy is not performing a duty towards you, this is when he becomes an enemy. Even mothers do this to their sons. He's all right as long as he's young and he's being dutiful to her because he's doing what she says. When he gets older, he may or may not be that because teenagers go into rebellion stages and he's no longer a utility for her. He's not being a utility to her. So he automatically becomes an enemy. So he got to get out, right? He's got to go. That's when he stops being a utility or she doesn't see any potential for him to be a utility to her. That's when he goes from being her son to just this ninja that's in her house that needs to go, right? So this was taught to her as a young girl to see all men, all Black men, boys, young, old, ones that belong in her family, ones that don't. It doesn't matter who they are or where they fit in her life. They're all in that same category, right, as men. So when you tell her that men are separate from her, she's growing up not seeing herself reflected in them. This separates her. This fundamentally alters her biology in several different ways. The first way that it alters her biology is by her thinking of herself in a way that is not true. She's not a part, that isn't her counterpart, when biologically he is. Men and women are each other's counterparts on a wide scale. And then when you break it down by ethnicity, we're each other's counterparts because we look like each other, and a human being has a tendency to gravitate towards others that look and seem to be similar to them. But when you're taught in the Gynocracy 101 that Black men are not your actual counterpart and that in point of fact, you're better than them and you're over them and you're the human and he is not, you're the person and he is not, then there's no way you're going to see yourself reflected in a non-human. Just the same way we don't see ourselves reflected in our pets. They're non-human. We may love them, we may have them around, but they're not our counterparts in any type of way. They're a pet. They're there to serve us in some type of way. They're either going to serve us in physical needs by getting something. Sometimes there's a CNI dog or something like that, or they're going to serve us emotionally. We just want the companionship of another living being. So we get pets and stuff like that in order to have the companionship in our living space of another being, another thing that is alive. Okay. And then The other thing that it does to girls is it alters her perception of her own biology. So she begins to really believe that she does not need men. This changes how what she believes about herself as a girl, as a human. The gynocracy teaches women to deny their womanhood out of the gate, which breaks her vessel. That is a breaking of the vessel. That's the true foundation of how women's vessels become broken. When we no longer see ourselves from the lens of reality, we're seeing ourselves from the lens of the gynocracy, which is a different value system that was born from white survivalism. That value system, that is where the gynocracy comes from. That is what we are doing. That is how we're living. That's the value system that we're living according to, which is why it's got us messed up like this, because it has us denying who we are as women, that we don't need men and therefore we don't need these things. And I keep pointing to these things because they are essential. If you look at it again, it says the essence of male nature. Women need the essence of male nature in order to survive. Women have always needed men to survive. And just because we're in 2021 with all of these modern conveniences, that actually has not changed. Because even though women can go out and get their own money and things of that nature, they can't go out and get their own masculinity, no matter how they try, no matter how much the gynocracy takes femininity away and tries to replace it with some form of masculinity. Only men have real masculinity, and only that version of it is fulfilling to women, which is why the vessels get broken. But again, not only does it change her biology, how she thinks of herself, how she thinks of men, it also sets up for her unrealistic expectations of men. Because she's detached emotionally from them and in a sense biologically from men, she has these unrealistic expectations. Now, this is when it starts manifesting as she gets older and starts dating seriously. The first thing is that because the gynocracy told her that she doesn't need these things from a man, she only needs one thing from a man, maybe two. The gynocracy still wants procreation in terms of just having sex, and it also wants women to panhandle guys to get money out of them. Okay? So she might get two, but the other two are missing. The problem solving and the protection are missing, which is why you hear a lot of gynocrats hollering about protection, because that's one of the two P's that they never get. Okay? They never get them because the gynocracy told women that they don't need them. They don't need those things. She can solve her own problems. She can protect herself, when in reality, she can't. Maybe on some level physically she can, but women need the protection of our emotions and our heart done by a man. And women aren't such good problem solvers because this is why we have so much chaos going on in our lives when there is no leadership, when there is no system, order, and structure. We actually need men to come in and problem solve by installing those things in our lives for us. But the gynocracy said we don't need that. This alters our biology because it alters how we think of ourselves and our needs as women, and it alters how we think of men and their needs. It really tells us that men don't have any needs, none that we should be concerned about providing for in any case, right? And in this way, it sets up these unrealistic expectations of what men are supposed to do. So remember, she learned from a little girl that men are only supposed to be utilities. They're not supposed to ask for anything in return for doing. So when she has when she gets older and starts dating these men, that's in her head. So this is why she feels like the relationship is all about her and never about him. So when he starts asking her to qualify, he starts asking her to meet certain standards, he starts asking her and requiring things of her to remain in a relationship with him, this is when she gets bent out of shape. Because from a little girl, she was taught that men are only supposed to be utilities, and utilities don't talk back. They don't require you to do anything. She shouldn't be, in her mind, she shouldn't be required to do anything. Maybe sex, maybe. And that's up to her and her discretion whether or not she wants to even do that. So she should not, in her mind, she should not be required for anything. This is an unrealistic expectation. Those expectations get shattered time and again. Not to mention that she doesn't take dating seriously when she's very young. So she allows too much access to her body sexually. This breaks her vessel in another way by too much access to sex, too much sex with too many different partners. And that is a spiritual exchange that actually breaks her spiritually. So she begins to have an even more of a warped sense of what men are supposed to do, what women are supposed to do or not do. What are the requirements for her being in a relationship? What are the requirements for him being in a relationship? As a utility, he has all the requirements and responsibilities. She does not. She should be able to get into a relationship, kick back, and have fun in it. And the moment that it's not fun anymore, this is when the expectations become shattered. This makes her bitter. Over time, she keeps running into it. Instead of adjusting the expectations to fit the reality, she wants the reality to adjust and fit the narrative that she has been taught about what men are supposed to do in regards to women. It's only when she actually gets older that it dawns on her. This is why you get older women that now want to see about how they can get a husband when they didn't take that seriously when they were younger, when that was more of a possibility for them, because she had all of these unrealistic things in her mind, all of these unnatural concepts about her biology and his in her mind given to her when she was a little girl. So the brokenness comes well before she engages with men on any type of romantic or serious level. That brokenness is there because the biology has been altered. The value system is broken. So she can't even approach men in the correct way to begin with. She's starting off approaching them in the wrong manner. Well, you're supposed to do stuff for me because you're the utility and I'm the person. You're the pet and I'm the person. You're the dog and I'm the owner. So all of your ambitions are supposed to be geared towards me. Everything that you do is supposed to be geared towards me. And you're not even supposed to have any ambition or things that you do that don't center around how I can benefit from that. That's what breaks women. In short, the gynocracy breaks you well before man can do anything. Because let's be honest, a lot of the so-called lying and cheating that men do, these are a lot of lies that you tell yourself. You tell yourself lies about these men and who they are and why they're in your life and why you allow them to be in your life. A lot of times you're dealing with men 5, 6, 10 years that couldn't give you the 4 P's if it was by gunpoint. If somebody had a gun to his head, he couldn't give you the 4 P's. He couldn't give you nothing but one of them, and that's procreation. And a lot of you settle for that for years because the D is so good, you don't even realize that you need them other ones until you get older and you get tired. And then by that time, you've wasted a lot of time yourself dealing with men because your femininity was off track. You couldn't discern. You didn't have the right feminine energy to discern correct masculine energy from a man. So you spend a lot of time with a lot of F-19s with good paint jobs, not going nowhere. You ain't left the airport not one time in a successful flight. Every time they rev that plane up, it's something wrong with it, and they got to come back to the airport and try to land it and see, can you get off of it alive? Every single time. You are stuck at the F-19 airport. And you ain't been able to figure out how to get to the regular airport until you get 36 years old, 46 years old. Then you try to figure out how you can get a little GPS to the regular airport. But you done been had by them F-19s, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. You're broken. But again, the F-19s didn't break you. The gynocracy did. It was likely your mother because she taught you that stuff. And it got reinforced throughout the years. You're the one that had the unrealistic expectations about what things were supposed to be. You were the one spending time with me and just because the D was good and he had a couple of dollars and, you know, he wasn't really giving you nothing else and you were wasting time. But you participated in that time wasting. That man didn't tell you he was going to do all that stuff. You sat there and you wanted to make up stories about what he was going to be and how he was going to be. Well, I got with him because of potential. Girl, you don't know with no potential to smack you in your face. So you didn't get with him with no potential. You got with him because that dude throwing your back out. And you couldn't think while he was doing that. So let's be real. Let's stop capping about how you became broken. They broke your vessel as a little girl, and it just got worse and worse and worse as time went on. And the only way that we're going to get that back is by switching up the value system. The only way that we're going to get back to being women and feminine and understanding how we're supposed to really interact in this world and interact with the men in our lives is if we first get ourselves together on a spiritual level and work our way at minimum to 1 through 5. 1 through 5. I challenge you to just go 1 through 5. Work on your spirituality. Get yourself together mentally. Get yourself together health-wise. Get yourself together family-wise. Get yourself together with your appearance. Get yourself together with your dwelling. Only you can do this work. We can guide you. I can bring you to the water, but I can't make you drink it, sis. You're going to have to drink it on your own. Everybody got work to do. Everybody has their own work to do. And you're going to have to try to see the value in yourself and see the value in the men reflected in order to inspire you to do this work. At some point, you got to get tired of this rat race. You got to be tired of this. Ain't no way you ain't tired. So if you're tired, you got to do something about it. Right? So do me a big favor and sound off in the comments section. Is it men's fault that women are broken, or is this a result of gynocratic teaching for generations that send women out into the world already broken? I would love to hear everyone's comments and thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I am your host, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.
Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.